You were taught Medusa is the monster, snakes for hair, a gaze that turns you to stone, a hero named Perseus who saves the day. But what if I told you Medusa wasn't the villain in her own story? What if the real horror isn't her face, but what was done to her? And what if the oldest Medusa we've ever found wasn't even meant to scare people? It was meant to protect them. On the Greek island of Corfu, there used to be a temple so big it wasn't just a place of worship. It was a message. It was the Temple of Artemis, built about 2,600 years ago. Now imagine you're a sailor. You're coming in from sea. The wind's loud, the ships are creaking, and ahead of you the city rises over the port. And high above the entrance of that temple, looking straight down at you, is Medusa. Not a little symbol, not a quiet detail. A giant stone figure, full body, wings, muscles, snakes woven through her hair, a belt made of 2 snakes wrapped around her waist like armor. This isn't the Medusa from cartoons. This Medusa looks like a force of nature. And here's the twist. She wasn't placed there to terrorize worshippers. She was placed there to protect the temple and to intimidate outsiders. Basically, she was the city's warning label. Then, in 1911, she rose again. Farmers were digging near a convent on Corfu and hit stone. At first, they didn't know what they'd found. But archaeologists started digging, and the earth gave up its secret. The remains of the Temple of Artemis. And buried nearby, a massive stone triangle from the roof, carved with mythic figures. A face emerged from the dirt. A Gorgon's face. Medusa. After 2.5 millennia, she was still staring back. Now here's where the story gets deeper. Because Medusa wasn't even supposed to be alone. In the oldest Greek writing we have, Medusa is one of 3 sisters. The Gorgons. 2 of them can't die. They're immortal. But Medusa is different. Medusa is mortal. And that one detail changes everything, because it means she is the only one that can be hunted. The only one that can be killed. The only one whose story can become a trophy. And there's another detail modern retellings love to erase. Medusa is a mother. Her children are Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, a golden giant. Most people think those children only appear after Medusa is killed, like they pop out of nowhere as a magical plot twist. But on Corfu, in that ancient stone carving, she's shown alive with them beside her. Not just a head, not just a monster, a full figure with offspring, a living being. And that changes the emotional temperature of the entire myth. Because now you're not looking at a faceless threat. You're looking at someone with a family. Someone with a body, someone with a role. So why did people fear her so much? Because Gorgons weren't just ugly, they were overwhelming. Ancient writers describe them as loud, chaotic, thunderous. Their wide mouths and tongues weren't just meant to look gross. The image suggests noise, a sound that shakes you. And across ancient Greece, Gorgon faces showed up in a very specific place. Not in bedrooms, not as romance. On armor, on shields, on temple roofs, at entrances, like a security system, like a guard dog. If you belonged, it protected you. If you came as a threat, it warned you. Medusa was always both. Then the myth turns darker. Later versions bring in Poseidon and Athena. And this is where people tend to speed up because it's uncomfortable. Most later sources say Poseidon forces himself on Medusa inside Athena's temple. That's the setting. A sacred space. And when it's over, Athena doesn't punish Poseidon. She punishes Medusa. Medusa's beauty becomes her curse. Her hair becomes snakes. And she becomes the monster everyone feels justified attacking. If you hear that and think, wait, how is she the one who gets punished? You're asking the right question. Because here's one of the most important and most ignored points in the entire Medusa story. There's no clear evidence in ancient sources that Medusa kills anyone while she's alive. She's feared, she's avoided. People talk about her like she's danger itself, but the mass killing doesn't happen until after she's dead. That line matters, so I'm going to say it plainly. Medusa doesn't become deadly until after she's dead. Now enter Perseus. In the popular version, Perseus is a brave young hero on a noble quest. But the older story is uglier. Perseus is sent away by a king who wants him gone, so the king can go after Perseus's mother. The quest is basically an excuse to remove him. Bring back Medusa's head. And Perseus doesn't win because he's the best. He wins because the gods hand him the cheat codes. He gets winged sandals so he can move impossibly fast. He gets a special bag designed to carry Medusa's head safely, like it's radioactive. He gets a cap that makes him invisible. And he gets a polished shield. That shield is everything, because Perseus doesn't face Medusa. He doesn't meet her eyes. He watches her reflection. He uses the shield like a mirror so he can kill her without looking directly at her. Then he reaches her cave. The air is still. The space is dark. And Medusa is asleep. Not mid-attack. Not roaring, not hunting, sleeping. Perseus stands over her and strikes. He cuts off her head. And at that moment, something happens that should stop the story from ever being simple. Life erupts from death. Pegasus is born. Chrysaor is born. Her body produces life in the instant she's destroyed. Then her sisters chase Perseus, and their grief is described like panic, like noise, like the world shaking with it. Perseus escapes only by turning invisible. And now we get to the part that makes the whole myth feel like a tragedy instead of a victory. After Medusa is killed, her head becomes a weapon, not a symbol, a weapon. Perseus uses it to petrify people. He turns enemies into stone. He turns entire groups into stone. He leaves bodies behind as statues. And the bitter irony is this: Medusa kills no one while she has agency in the story. But once she's dead, once she's turned into an object, she becomes a tool that kills hundreds. That's what I mean when I say the horror isn't her face. It's the way she's used. Even her blood gets split into opposites. One part is poison. The other part is a cure that can bring someone back from death. Medusa contains destruction and salvation at the same time. And over centuries, artists keep reshaping her because they can't decide what she is. Early art makes her wild, loud, terrifying. Later, Greek art starts making her more human, more beautiful. Her teeth shrink. Her face softens. By the time you get to classical paintings on vases, you can find Medusa shown asleep, curled in on herself, almost like a child. Not monstrous, vulnerable. And later writers go even further. Some flip the story entirely and portray Perseus as the real villain, even a pirate, while Medusa becomes a powerful queen. So, which version is true? Here's the honest answer. There isn't one true version. Myths don't work like that. Every era rewrites them to match what it needs to believe. Sometimes Medusa is a monster so the hero can shine. Sometimes Medusa is a warning to protect a sacred place. Sometimes Medusa is a symbol of danger. Sometimes she's a symbol of survival. And in the modern world, Medusa is everywhere. Movies turn her into a boss fight. Fashion turns her into an icon. Politics turns her into a metaphor. People keep using her face because it's instantly recognizable. But the oldest meaning is the one most people never hear. Medusa's name is tied to the idea of guarding, of protecting. And on Corfu, that's exactly what she was. A guardian at the edge. A warning at the entrance. A shield that says this place is protected and you don't get to walk in with bad intentions. So next time someone tells you Medusa is just a monster, ask them one question. Who benefits from telling the story that way? and who gets erased when we do. Comment Guardian if you see her differently now, and share this with a friend who needs to hear this.